I think my father was more from the Russian side, hence the name Kolesnikov. I think everyone's familiar with the rifle Kalashnikov, similar. But my mother's from the Ukraine side, and it's more the Ukraine side that I've been brought up in. Okay. Before I did Aikido, have you ever heard of Aikido, by the way? It's a form of martial arts, but it's also a gentle form of martial arts. And immediately before I did that, I used to be a psychiatric nurse. I used to have about 10 jobs before that. But doing Aikido is the longest one I've had, 30 years now nearly. And while I was doing Aikido, the actual system of Aikido changed. And it went into another system. And this is where the mind and body development side came in. So I started nursing and Aikido as a hobby in about 1970. And then the system changed about 1976. The person who taught me in Aikido was a man called Sensei Williams, and Sensei basically means the teacher. Okay. And then we linked with somebody called Koichi Tohei, and he was a 10th Dan. Now I'm a 6th Dan, which is not bad. It's like 6 black belts, if you like. And this man was 10 black belts, Koichi Tohei, and he also developed this mind and body system. Now, in the old days in Japan, people used to go up into the mountains for many years to study mind and body development, calmness of mind. Some people achieved it. Some people lost their lives trying to achieve it. And then those who did achieve calmness came back to life to live back with their families and look after their children, and they lost it again. So in nature they were okay, but when they came back to life again, back to normal everyday living, it was a bit difficult to keep this mind and body development. So Koichi Tohei formularized this system where anybody could do these special exercises and gain this benefit. Now, we talk about mind and body development, and I mean, what I do is called the Kolesnikov School of Mind and Body Development, which is a mouthful at the best of times. We have another interesting exercise. Maybe you'd like to help me? Right. Okay. If you just face that way, please. That's it. Just stretch up, but stand natural, but just stretch up. Now, what I'm going to do is test your shoulder backwards, just gently. And I want you to imagine a point just 2 inches below the navel, but only 2 inches. So imagine an imaginary point there, and as I gently test back, you should feel very stable, which you do. You feel stable? Mm-hmm. Okay. You are allowed to talk, it's okay. Okay, only kidding. All right. Now this time, forget that point for a moment and think on your head now. Just think there. When I test again, look, move easily, don't you? Yep. Is that right? Okay. So when you have to move, do take a step. All right. So again, we concentrate on this point, 2 inches below the navel. I try and test back, and the person feels stable. Okay. Now, when we think here now, on the top, right, we move very easily. Is that right? Yep. Thank you. Yep, thank you. All right, thank you. Yeah. Okay, now the question to you is, where do you normally think? Head? All right. But what that means is, without realizing it, we're all top-heavy. And our balance isn't very good. So if somebody bumps into you, usually you're going to go flying. Now don't forget, I also do martial arts. And what's one of the purposes of martial arts? Is to stop people trying to throw you, isn't it? Yeah? So if I have a good stable centre, it becomes more difficult to throw me, which is very useful, of course, in the martial arts sense. But in the mind and body sense, it's your inner stability. We have an outer stability, which is your body. We understand that because you stand up and you don't fall over, so that's fine. What about your inner stability? This comes from the mind. So your mind and body meet at a point 2 inches below the navel. And this is about the centre of a person. So we learn to kind of move and feel from this area here. Yeah? But every experience counts, really. Every experience, you know. Yeah. Well, I think we've come to the end of our little talk. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Opened our eyes to something completely different, and I might say on behalf of all of us here, welcome to the PSA.
Thank you.
It's delightful to meet you. We've had an interesting experience this morning. There's never been a meeting here that hasn't been interesting. I listen to add, but this has been fantastic. There's so much to think about, so much to learn, and I think on behalf of all of us here, we'd like to thank you very, very much indeed for taking the trouble to come here.
Yeah, thank you.
And hope we'll see a lot more of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.